Sections 8 and 9 spell out sanctions for erring employers of labor. And sometimes we even end up in litigation, where we go to courts of law and then the courts compel such erring employers of labor to pay with penalties. But under the present management, that is not a very pleasant approach for us. What we preach to employers of labor is to dialogue and to convince them and to see the essence of contributing into the coffers of the fund. Because conversely, it also aids in their operations as industries. And our own style is that we do not need to redefine relationships again, but we need to dialogue, to convince them to understand. And in doing this, we have also gone to their umbrella body, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, where we are also in partnership with NECA using a PET program known as the Technical Skills Development Project. Today, we have 24 participating organizations drawn from both the public and private sectors of the economy, in participation of that PET program. And the essence is to drive home the point of the importance of what we are doing by virtue of our mandate. And it has also got the buy-in because NECA, being the umbrella body of the organized private sector, also takes the message across to its members, the bulk of whom are those contributing to the coffers of the ITF. So we have different approaches, not to talk about using the communication medium, such as the NTA here, to reach out to people. And I must use this opportunity to commend our various media channels, for taking this upon themselves as their call to duty and their responsibility to humanity, by also letting the world know that there is need for cooperation, there is need for support, there is need for all hands to be on deck among all stakeholders. Because our goal is one. The goal is to industrialize our nation. Let me tell you, my director of research mentioned the ITF UNIDA study. We took out just 6 key sectors of the economy. We had these 6 sectors, and you wouldn't believe it. We took agribusiness and agro-allied. We took metal and solid minerals. We took oil and gas related industry. We took construction, light manufacturing, and services. And you wouldn't believe that we came to the conclusion, that study came to the conclusion, that we have 925 traits which were either difficult to fill or hard to fill in the country's labor market. Let me give you a breakdown, Cyril. 19% in the housing skill gap, 13% in petrochemical, 14% in other goods, 11% in auto industry, 10% in textiles, 10% in steel, 9% in services sector, and so on and so forth in the leather industry. So these vacancies are there, but we do not have Nigerians to fill them.
Okay. All right, we'll come to that. Let's go back to the phones now. We have calling in from Katsina, Isma. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Everyone there in the studios, and thank you very much for everything there. We have heard the DG and, of course, the other staff of ITF, and we have heard the chance of activities being carried out by ITF is sincerely appreciable. And we hope this chance of activities has been extended to various offices of ITF in various states of the Federation. And I want the head office of ITF to encourage and, of course, sensitize state governments to invest more, especially in skills acquisition and, of course, in the areas of handicraft training, because this will go a long way in transforming and, of course, diversifying Nigeria's economy. It is very, very important for our people to engage in handicraft and skills acquisition, because it really pays. And I would also want if the ITF will acknowledge the efforts of some industries, and of course continue to encourage them to encourage other institutions to engage in this skills acquisition and handcrafts. And finally, we have to appreciate all these efforts because they are the only way out of the current economic hardship Nigeria and, of course, Nigerians are facing. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to contribute.
All right. Thank you very much, Isma. Thank you. Well, speaking about collaborative efforts, and we do know that there are other institutions set up to address the skills gap. Other institutions of government that are concerned with skills acquisition. So, Director Field, how do you collaborate with these other institutions like the NDE and the like?
We collaborate with organizations that have to do that have one or two things to do directly with the skills training programs of the fund. We look at the relevance in terms of what the two organizations can do, and then we go into areas of working relationship that will enable us equip the young Nigerians with skills. Most of the collaborations have to do with skills acquisition, as the DG had mentioned earlier. The major one we have is with NECA. We have with NECA, we have with Cement Technology Institute. We have with Institute of Tourism, and we also have with other organizations such as UNITA, yes,
United Nations Institute for Training and
we
Research.
We have with UNITA, we have with UNIDO, and so many others.
Let me also say here, Cyril, that what we have tried to do is to harmonize the operations of skills amongst all other stakeholders. You mentioned the NDE, NBTE, NAPTEP. We have seen that there is no need for us to work at cross purposes. So the ITF took the initiative to invite all the stakeholders to a round table. And there we saw the need to fashion out the approach and the modality to have one seamless skills development method. And all were in agreement. As a matter of fact, as I talk to you now, the skills stakeholders in Nigeria are at the point of registering Nigeria into the World Skills Competition, so that Nigeria will become a member of this competition, going as one body. And so that means we are on. And for the avoidance of doubt, this harmony has also been further strengthened amongst organizations. For example, the ITF sits on the board of NBTE. And so in terms of policy formulation, government has also assisted very well. And talking about the partnership, you know that as a human capacity development institution, you need to be above board. And you need to keep with the trends. So we have a lot of partnerships. On assumption, we had over 52 collaborations applications. Okay. And we had to bring this down to 40. So we currently have 40 partnerships in terms of technical, equipment, training, etc., etc.
Okay. We have on the line from Adama, I believe, Abraham. Hello, Abraham. Abraham.
Yes, Stephen, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, I'm hearing you, Cyril. Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, Cyril, and the Chief Executive and his team. Actually, you are doing the right thing. And actually, what they are doing is the right thing for our teeming youth in the universities and colleges that is spread all over in the country. But I want to ask this question. How do the students of colleges of health technology in Nigeria benefit from this ITF? Because initially we used to send our students on practical, and they used to have stipends from ministries of health. But today, there's nothing forthcoming. And these students have to go to their practicals, and actually what have been taught in the class, it is exactly what they will go into the clinics and hospitals, and even teaching hospitals. They will go there and put it into practice. But then, they have not been benefiting from this ITS. What is this? What are they doing about it? This is what I want to find out. Thank you. You are doing a very good job.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abraham. Yes, the answers will come straight away.
For any institution to be part of the scheme, there is need for the institution to apply to the supervisory agency and to the industrial training fund. If it's a university, you must apply to NUC and ITF. For polytechnics or monotechnics, you have to apply to the NBT and the ITF. If it's a college of education, you apply to the NCC and ITF. So the application must come and it must be approved. And the most important thing is that the course of study must be relevant. It must be relevant. There must be a need to actually bridge a gap between what the students learn and what they should be able to practice.
All right.
So the approval must come.
If I heard the caller correctly, he talked about students of health technology.
Yes.
So who do they apply through? Where do they fall under this categorization?
That's a monotechnic, and they should apply to NBT.
All right. Now let's talk about
these are the regulatory agencies. So they regulate their operations in the schools. And so they are in better position to let the ITF know if they are accredited, and if the courses are accredited, then we get to know about that through the regulatory agencies. That's the reason why we go through the regulatory agencies.
Okay, we have another caller on the line, Ibrahim, this time calling from Bayelsa. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. I think I'm enjoying the program too. I'm a regular. My own contribution is I want clarification from the team there. The 1% that, what's it called, employers of laborers are due to pay, the 1%, is it 1% of the annual profit of the company or 1% of the turnover of the company? It should be clarified. Because when I went to pay for my company, I was told it's 1% of annual profit or minimum of 50 or 75,000 naira. So if it's 1% of annual profit and the minimum is 75,000, it's equivalent to the fact that you're making profit of 7.5 million naira a year, which is not feasible. That's number one. I think the payment shouldn't be flat. It should be in line with the performance of the company. If the company has a low time in a year, that low time should be respected. If there is a boom for the company, then it should be respected. So I know there is lots of trust in the society, but at least we should face that fact. So that's one thing. Another one is the benefits the students, as in the ITF students, are getting. They will go for ITF program this year or this month. After the expiration of the time, it will take them about 6 months before they get the stipend. The stipend that are meant to take care of them as like a subsidy for the expenses immediately will take 6 months after the finishing of the program. What the lane is, why is the transferring of money to the beneficiary taking that long time? So I think that's my observation for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. So, beginning with the issue of clarification on the 1% payable by the employers of labor. Is it 1% of their profit?
No. Ibrahim, thank you so much for the question and for clarification. It is clear that I said at the onset that it is 1% of the annual payroll of an employer of labor. And that is why it is tied to the employees. So an employer of labor with 5 employees is liable to contribute to the ITF coffers as training contribution. So from 5 employees and above. But even if you do not have up to 5 employees, but your turnover per annum is up to 50 million and above, you are liable also to contribute to the ITF. And these are worked out. There are specifications, there are items that will be worked out for you, upon which it is now determined for you to pay. But what the Act also spells out is that in order to encourage you as an employer of labor, even the 1% annual payroll that you pay, you are entitled to take back as much as 50% of the 1% if you train according to the specifications of the guidelines of the ITF. And these guidelines are made clear to you. And the employers of labor feel them, they are guided, they run reimbursement workshops and seminars. And so they are knowledgeable. The ITF teaches you on how you can access this 50% of the 1% you pay. And like I said in the beginning, it is meant to encourage employers of labor to train. Our focus is training. Our focus is equipping Nigerians with hands-on trade. Our focus is lubricating your industry, lubricating the entire Nigerian economy by getting people who are knowledgeable about hands-on trades so that we can escalate the activities of skills in our country.
All right. So from what he said, it was as if he went to pay and he was told this. You won't worry about who would have given him this other information.
Yes, I think, you know, talking about compliance, the federal government has also assisted in ensuring that there is compliance on the part of contributing employers, especially with the executive orders and also the procurement law. You know, makes it mandatory for people to pay training contributions before you can get any access. But we have 44 offices across the nation. ITF is one of the agencies of government that has an expanded network. So where you get some of these underhand deals, you need to let us know immediately through the area managers or through some of our sites where you can see. You report some of these things if there are any sharp practices. But I tell you that our officers are well trained to guide you to do the right thing. Then talking about taking a long time to pay the stipends. I mentioned in the beginning that whereas the budget for CWES is about 2.5 billion per annum, what comes into the coffers of the ITA per annum is about 800 million. Definitely there will be a great deal of deficit. And the shortage is what normally leads to some people passing out many years before even is paid. We keep on rolling these funds over as it comes. Mark you, the ITF does not have the funds to pay this. The ITF midwives this scheme on behalf of the federal government. But owing to so many competing demands at the doorstep of government, it makes it impracticable for government to attend to some of these immediately as at and when due. And that's why it takes over time before we roll over these also and pay when the money comes.
All right, talking about harmonization right now, especially with the curriculum, for instance. And like I said earlier on, there are other agencies into the development of skills, provision of knowledge, and development of capacities. Now, how do you develop a curriculum as to have something that at least has some form of harmony. So if today I'm in institution A or I'm going through a skills acquisition program in agency A, I can be comfortable that what I'm getting is at par with what the ITF churns out. In other words, so you don't have a situation where people will look down on what training you have, that, oh, well, this is not ITF, and oh, this is from this other place, it's not as good as that.
Okay, I think over time what we've tried to do is to apply best practices in our activities. And like I said, we have a standard for developing our curriculum. First, you must identify a need, which we call a training needs or training analysis. You do that, then you now form a panel of experts. And what ITF does is to make sure that our experts are drawn from reputable organizations, both within the public and the private sector. And we form that the experts come around and look at the entire synopsis and then identify what the content will be. Based on the need that has been identified, you should be able to identify the outcomes. In fact, what we try to do over time is to look at what the outcomes are likely going to be, because that is what is going to be impactful. So we roll back, you know, by way of looking at what do we expect at the end of this program, what do you expect the trainee or the delegate to be able to achieve or to attain, you know. So we do that, and then we make sure that we come up with a very robust kind of curriculum at the end of the day. Let me tell you one thing, Siri. What we've tried to do over time is to use our mandate that talks about the issue of what certification of training. And that is what we use to make sure that other agencies, whether it's within the private or public sector, come together to make sure that we have a standard. We want, for example, a training. Let's say if you are training a welder. If you are training a welder in Sokoto and you are training somebody in Abeokuta, you are training somebody in Bayelsa, they should be able to have the same competencies.
Right.
And you can only do that if you have a standard format that you apply to. And that is what ITF has been able to do over time. And we also make sure, especially in terms of trying to create jobs that we are talking about, our programs in the technical areas are in modular forms. What we do with modular form is you can take, let's say, refrigeration and air conditioning, for example. You could train somebody on how to maintain electric motor. That can give him food on his table. And electric motor is just an aspect of what the AC does, for example. So we try to do that, and we liaise with a number of organizations. Like the DG said, we are collaborating even beyond the shores of this country. We are looking at Sinai in Singapore, in Brazil, which we are working with. We have a very good program running in our Model Skills Training Center in Abuja here, which we are running in collaboration with the Singaporeans, you know, institute there. So we have a very robust and also experts within the system. What we have that stands for us too as an organization is methodology, because that is what delivers the training. If you have the right methodology and having assembled a curriculum made up of experts that can deliver, then you can be rest assured that that person at the end of that program will have the requisite competencies, will be able to do hands-on, and he or she will be able to have employable skills. And that is what we are looking out for.
Let's take a trip to the streets now.
Okay.
And see, you have a tradesman, an artisan, who's totally unskilled, and he acquires some kind of training. Are you pushing for there to be some form of recognizable certification? For instance, let's use in tiling. You have a tiler,
Yes.
and you have trained this tiler, and you have all kinds of tilers. Some, of course, definitely are pretenders to it on the streets going around. But is there any form of certification? Would you push for some form of certification so that if someone comes up today and says, look, I trained as a tiler, then there ought to be something to show that he has actually trained as a tiler, and not what we do, the usual apprenticeship scheme, which we have, somebody stays for maybe 1, 2, 3 years, and you hear them say, he performs a freedom, he's now a qualified tiler.
Okay, let me take you back. We did mention the issue of the skills gap assessment report. And part of the fallout of that skills gap assessment report.
Let's show him the report.
This report is here.
Right.
This is a complete report, both the executive summary in terms of policy and then the main document as it were.
Yeah. All right.
What we identify with that report is this.
Yes.
That
so if we can get this on the camera, see that, right? Okay. All right.
Yes. What we've been able to do with that is to make sure that, look, we must have levels, vocational levels that we can do this. And in this report, one key thing that came out is the Sectorial Skills Council. And you can drive things like this using the various sectors that we have. Presently, we don't have so much of them in the country. And what ITF is trying to do now is to make sure that, look, let's try and see how we can midwife by way of facilitating the establishment of this sectorial council, which is captured under the National Industrial Revolution Plan. Right. And we're trying to do that in such a way that at the end of the day, we have a kind of certification that will be acceptable by both the employer, you know, within the private and the public sector. It's a very Herculean task, as it were, because of the level of paper qualification that we so much attached to. But you know that outside the shores of this country, in the industrialized nations, we have more of skills. And the people that survived during the last recession that we had in the West were people that were multi-skilled. And that is what we are looking at, so that we can give them the employable skills. But we are trying to come up with national occupational standards, and that will guide the kind of certification. In doing that, we are going to liaise with MBT, like my DG said, and then other agencies of government, so that the certificate will be accepted. But right now, I can tell you that the certificate of ITF is recognized and acceptable nationwide.
And then we are doing something novel, additionally to what the Director of Research has said. We are bringing in something in practical terms at the Model Skills Training Center. That is a center that is second to none in this country and is fashioned in line with partnership from the Institute of Technical Education and Services of Singapore. And we just brought the model in 5 trade areas of mechatronics and autotronics, computer networking, ICT, culinary, and facility technology. And what we have tried to do, like it was mentioned by one of my colleagues here, that we do training in modular form. So we take it modular form. For example, you can do up to 8 modules. By the time you do the first module and the second, you would be employable. You can even, stand on your own. And what we have tried to do also is to look at the issue of the certification. For example, a graduate of model skills today would have 3 certificates, including the diploma in innovation. Right. So that sets him right. And then we have brought in another initiative again to pay for the JAM for some of these trainees. And after graduation, they can go to the university after writing JAM to do technical things. And that way we are building and escalating that also in the society. We recently trained 400 Air Force personnel from that institute here in Abuja. And we've got all the necessary equipment. They do international certification. We just have to start from somewhere.
Okay.
And in addition to that,
yes,
even the National Industrial Skills Development Program that we are running for youths across the country, we had gone a step further to liaise with the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, Employment and Productivity, to ensure that no matter their level, maybe some of them may have fallen out from, may not have even finished secondary school. So we have liaised with Ministry of Labor to ensure that we bring the issue of trade tests to the curriculum, so that at the end of their training, they are registered for, they are trained and equipped with a skill with which they can pass the trade test in that particular trade area. And so when they finish, they have something to present for anybody who want to authenticate their competence.
So at least you have the trade test and say, look, yes, I trained as a mechanic and I passed the... Okay. Well, IT rules the world today, and so it's completely, directly under your purview. What levels are we taking it from ITA?
Well, we are, first of all, we had ensured that we raise the IT competency of our workforce. That is the starting point. We have going further to ensure that our programs, right now we have developed an e-learning platform, which is undergoing quality assurance right now, which is very soon going to be deployed. We have also developed a job portal where applicants as well as employers can log in. Applicants can go in and submit their resume, and employers can go in and look for the particular certificates or competencies they need, and so on and so forth. You know, creating a platform that brings the applicants with the employers, and that helps for some of the applicants to be able to get jobs. And again, we have also, like I said before, we have gone ahead and we're developing, ensuring that every operation of the fund is integrated into a system, which we call the Enterprise Resource Planning Application, which will make sure that every financial activities are integrated. The human resource activities about management of human resource of the industrial training fund are integrated, making sure that even the seaways we're talking about are all integrated. And that is where we are going under the leadership of the current Director General.
Now you have a horde of youths who are out there who don't have these opportunities. Can individuals on their own access? Let's take a situation where you don't have up to 5, and of course your turnover is nothing near 50 million. Can such people take advantage of whatever training programs that the ITF has?
Oh yes, very well, Cyril. The vision that I talked about at the beginning of this program brought in so many intervention programs, such as the National Industrial Skills Development Program, the Women's Skills Empowerment Program, the Technical Skills Development Project, the Step C, that is the Skills Training Empowerment Program for the physically challenged. Then we have the Passion to Profession Program, where your field may be law, but you may have a passion in music. You come there and ensure that you actualize your passion.
Right.
And then, so what we do is not just to, in order to get the buy-in of Nigerians and also for everybody to be part of it, we inform and get the buy-in of state governments and tell them, for example, currently we are training 300 youths in each state of the Federation currently in 3 trade areas of aluminium, plaster of Paris, fashion design, and garment making, as well as photography. Now what we do is these 300, we get the state government agencies through the governors, who are the chief executives of their states. These are their citizens, 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, to identify the youths according to the local governments in those states. Bring up 300. The method for selection will be done with our area offices there to ensure that even the wretched of the earth are part of the program. They key into the program. And then we do not stop at just the training. We have realized that training them and leaving them on the streets, they go back to square one. So what we now try to do is to empower them with the startup packs. And from our survey, we have discovered that in situations where trainees are empowered with startup packs, more than 90% of them set up on their own. And some of them become employers of labor, and entrepreneurs. And that's our target, that's our vision. Because at the end of it, it may be like a drop of water in the ocean, but over time it will spread. And when one entrepreneur brings in another employee, you'll see that we begin to take people off the streets. And then people get engaged. And then their livelihoods are encouraged, enhanced, and not only that, they have food on their tables, and you give them license to the world.
A lot of emphasis has been given to agriculture now, and you have also developed something in that region. Let's hear you about the agribusiness, because easily so many people will say to you that agriculture is one area that is capable of removing millions off the job market.
The ITF reviewed vision strategies for mandate actualization took into cognizance the issue of agriculture as admonished or spelled out by the present administration of Muhammadu Buhari GCFR. And the ITF keying into that did not just stop here. Like one of my directors said, we partner with international organizations and ensure that best practices, are our hallmarks. What we have done is to identify, first of all, the things, the agricultural value chain that our people will be most conversant with. And then we went into partnership with the Galilee International Management Institute in Israel. Israel is very well known for its agricultural prowess. And so we partnered with them, and we sent the first set of our trainees, 30 of them. They were trained in Galilee, in the state of Israel, in different parts of the agri value chain, manuring, agro-processing, storage, agribusiness, post-harvest, etc., and marketing and all that. And they have come back. Those of them that were trained also on the greenhouse system. Because the agreement was that the Galilee experts would come in here to set up a kind of the Kenyan experience in Nigeria. And so we would take this also to the domain of the Nigerian public, and also from the experts from our staff who are now experts in this field. They will be able to put some of the farmers and Nigerians through in how they can set up this. Then the agreement or the memorandum of understanding which was signed with the Galilee International Management Institute is to the effect that from time to time they will come in here and supervise and see how we are able to develop this process of agriculture. So ITF has keyed in very well, and we have even identified areas where these greenhouses would be.
All right.
In addition to what my DJ has said, what we've tried to do is to make sure that it's an integrated type of farming where we situate these things together, where you have the greenhouse, you also have the agriculture, you also have the poultry. Some of the droppings from the poultry, you can use it for the greenhouse and things like that. So it's quite an integrated system of agriculture that we're trying to apply here. And hopefully by October, we are rolling out the first of within these 6 areas that the DG has talked about.
Well, in the next few minutes, just a couple of minutes we have left on this program, let us dedicate it to sustainability. Yes, all the fine ideas and programs and projects. Sustainability, that's one. And we would say, what is it that is standing in the way of the ITF towards achieving these goals?
Well, regarding sustainability, like we said, even the vision that we've rolled out is subject to review from 2022. And that means that we must key into the developments in our society. But one thing that will ensure sustainability is for all Nigerians to realize that skills is the currency of the 21st century. And that without it, we would not be able to make any meaningful stride in our economic drive. Secondly, skills has the capacity to lubricate even an ailing economy of any nation. And so my take would be that government also needs to continue to bring up policies that will engender this direction that it has already given. Secondly, we need Nigerians and stakeholders to put their hands on deck, because this is now a clarion call for all Nigerians if we must get our citizens preoccupied with their day-to-day activities in order to survive. Otherwise, even the issue of the human trafficking and the migration we are witnessing, we don't have a reason to do that, because every part of this country has endowments blessed by God, and we can really harness and pull these resources together for our common good. It only requires a proper attention to be given. Sustainability would not be a problem in a situation where we are motivated. And I tell you, in the ITF, we have this maxim that a moderate ITF staff knows everything about something and something about everything. And we are driven by that motivation to serve our country with the best way we can. And honestly, I also owe it to the staff, the resilience of the staff. I give them this tribute, that they are willing and very ever faithful to serve this country very well. And it is as a result of their efforts and their support, I would say that they are the backbone of what we have attained in the last 2 years. And so regarding sustainability, we are also looking at areas where we diversify. Recently, you saw that the federal government at one of its executive council meetings approved the completion of the multipurpose building here, which is situated at the cadastral area, a very strategic location. We intend, it's already on the 11th floor, just one more floor to conclude, that we would build a kind of a model training rooms with workshops, and it will bring in a lot of recruits, bring in a lot of trainees, and people would get jobs from there. So our target is to ensure that jobs are created, poverty is reduced to the barest minimum, and then Nigerians are happier for it.
All right. So, and as we always say on this program, no one program can capture all the issues. So we like to think that this is just the beginning of the conversation, and we'll have many more like this in the future to find out just how well the ITF is moving towards the attainment of its objectives. But for now, we'll have to leave this conversation here and say thank you to our guests who have been here. Director General, Chief Executive, Industrial Training Fund, Joseph Ari, thank you for spending time.
The pleasure is mine, sir. Thanks a lot.
All right. And of course, yes, you're part of the family, as they say. Yes, we do know that. Coming from the media, too. All right. And so thank you also to Director Field Services Department, Adi Sholatai. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And Director Research and Curriculum Development Department, Zachariah Piuna, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
And also Director Information and Communication Technology Department, Dixon Onoha. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right. And thank you too for being part of this program. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.
As better jam they flow, now so everybody with the feel and the rocker. You know, as a musician, I see this thing every time I did stage they perform. You know, everybody will just scatter body. You know, even when you bought yourself with the form, that's where they feel like say you don't even touch yourself. Before you know, music don't they move there, they don't enter that side. You know, that time it don't matter which political party where you did or the person where they support. It don't matter. So why it no fit be the same on election day? Why we not just go, jelly, go vote without throwing blow, throwing stone, carry stick, carry machete, curse everybody? So just remember, say, after all the political wahala and the brouhaha finish, we go still go back with the rock correct music together.
I am Adeola Omokibi, and the program you're watching is Sports Real. Keep a date with us.
Fans, they don't understand the rules or the laws of the game.
Hello and welcome to that program of yours on the NTA Sports Channel, Knowing Golf.
And thanks for joining us on another edition of Sports Guests on the NTA. My name is Kenem Emma Abodike. Welcome indeed to Saturday Sports Arena on the NTA Sports 24.
It would not be if you continue to just have these vague means of saying these are the yardsticks I want to use.
League Service, a program designed to bring you up to speed with happenings in Nigerian football leagues.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
It's another week of fashion, beauty, music, and more. And I'm your host, Mary Otu. We have a creative fashion stylist, Bella Adeleke. We will be learning about fixing and removing eyelashes. And the amazing David Bill will be chatting with Bobby on All About Music. Sit back and relax as we get this show started. She is the creative stylist of the movie Lara and the Beat. Bella Adeleke has worked with some of the best talents in Nigeria.
A fashion stylist is an individual that actually basically styles a client or creates looks to cater for a brief. So the brief could be for a photo shoot, it could be for a music video, it could be for a movie, it could be for an editorial. So creating the looks or the trends or the style in terms of clothing and aesthetics for the shoot is more or less a stylist. One thing you need to understand about artists is a lot of them, well, let me rephrase that, most of them understand their brand and they know what they want to communicate. So for example, someone like Asha has a very distinct brand. Like when you see her, you know she's minimal. When you see her, you know she's timeless and she's chic. So I don't think you'll ever find Asha wearing like a gold red sequin dress. I can't picture it because that's not what she's trying to communicate. So it's important for you to understand your client. For every client has different approach or different style approach. For example, Satan Begun I styled for Asha, and you know the brief was very interesting. I got the brief a day and a half to execute, and it was quite nerve-wracking, to be fair, because I'm a very big fan of Asha and I didn't really want to mess it up. But you know, like going there, having this aura of this like big star and being scared of like not knowing how this person will take you because, you know, you're still this up-and-coming stylist. Shout out to GM Films for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, so when you get there and, you know, this superstar is offering you a cup of tea or asking if you're hungry because they want to cook you food, it kind of just like makes you understand that in as much as these people have a brand, they're also human beings, and it's interesting if you can communicate that through styling in most of your projects. So they're all different. Like, obviously, Simi is very much of a tomboy. I think her music shines through most of the things she does. So it's not necessarily about her styling per se, although styling is important because it shows or it kind of defines who you are to your audience. But with Simi, I think her music, the strength of her music surpasses what she looks like a lot of times. So that's why she can get away being herself most of the times. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't want to accept that. They want more. But then again, she's a human being. There's so much she can give. For someone like Shay is very sexy. She's very sassy. She's very fierce, you know. And she always wants to cut across as this trendsetter, you know, the person that you look up to for that sexiness, embracing like womanity in such a modern, unashamed way, still trying to be as African as possible. And someone like Dekunle is, I would say he's our generation's answer to Sunny Ade. He's very Afropolitan. He's very Nigerian, unashamedly Yoruba in most of the things he does. So, which is really cool because no matter what he does, he incorporates that culture, his background into what he does. So, every artist or every client or every celebrity, whoever you may be, there's a different treatment or different communication through styling or through clothing or through your appearance that you actually put across to the audience. I lived in Nigeria for 16 years, more or less, before I moved to London, and I lived in London for 16 years. So it's interesting because I feel like it's a balance because I'm very Nigerian, I'm very Yoruba, and I think my mother instilled that culture and discipline in me prior to me moving to England. And, you know, being able to grow up and have the Western culture immersed into my innate African culture has kind of helped shape me in a very interesting but good way. I'm very bohemian, I'm very relaxed, I'm very tomboyish. I like to wear as little as possible because of the heat, but still look presentable. But I think my style is distinct. So when you see something I've done, if you know my work well enough, you would know that, okay, I think Bella is behind that. Lion the Beat is a sweet. It has a sweet spot in my heart because Lion the Beat is officially the first movie I ever styled, ever. And it was a roller coaster of emotions. I cried, I laughed, I made new friends, I learned new things. I learned not to crack under pressure. I thought I knew what pressure was until I worked on Lara and the Beat. It was very much challenging to a certain extent, but seeing the characters come to life from like a story, you know, changing these individuals or these celebrities into these characters, because I don't know if it's just me, but you watch that movie and at some point you don't see Sheyi as Sheyi, you see Sheyi as Lara, you know, and I think that aside from the stellar acting, I think that's also due to styling, you know, and it felt good. It felt really good to see that come alive, and it felt good to be able to like transform a piece of idea into something real and then being captured in pictures and everyone seeing that.
Bella has worked with the likes of Asha, Simi, and Sheyi She. Up next is Leicester Beauty, and Christine will be showing us how to remove and fix eyelashes. And this is for the ladies out there. I better be listening on this one. I mean, like my eyelash.
Well, today we're going to talk about false lashes or artificial lashes. These are lashes that we apply to look beautiful as ladies. So we need to understand some of the do's and the don'ts before, you know, applying these lashes. When you go to a beauty place,